Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be the first of 12 reviews of one of my favorite comedy series, not just British series, but comedy series of all time, Fawlty Towers. I mean, I've loved it for years, and it's still, no matter how many times I've seen it, it brings a smile to my face, laugh out loud stuff. So, um, after three series on the Monty Python's Flying Circus, John Cleese decided to call it quits with them because there was increasing interference and from the powers that be that were trying to censor that series. And he had had enough and decided to leave and go do his own thing. And he had an idea that was sparked by a hotel that he had first visited with the members of the troupe when they were staying there. And his character of Basil is actually based on a real person. They were staying at the Glen Eagles Hotel in Torquay, Devon, and the manager there was a man named Donald Sinclair. And this guy was actually very much like the Basil character. And he had a worker that actually described him as bonkers and lacking in hospitality and wholly unsuitable for a hotel proprietor. And John actually went back with his then wife, Connie Booth, and actually to get more to study the guy and to get more material or whatever for the character. So both him, John, and Connie went forth and started writing the series, the idea for what would become Fawlty Towers after that. So, as I said, it's one of my favorites, and this is the first episode. Let's call it A Touch of Class. And let's see, most of the characters. Bear with me here while I. So we have Basil and Sybil, who are the owners and managers of the hotel. Basil is a guy who aspires to be, has an affinity for the high class and has little tolerance for the riffraff of the of society. And Sybil is sort of like an overbearing wife who kind of like nagging him all the time. But she is like, I think his best interest in heart. But it's funny the interplay between the two of them. And also we have to get to some other characters here. We have Polly, who's the seemingly the most sane of the characters. They can always count on her to get things done, and she's got the. They can always count on her for stuff to get things done. And then we have Manuel, who of course is from Barcelona, and that's the one of the taglines that they use to explain some of his. He's from Barcelona to explain his incompetence at times, but he's the waiter, bellboy, porter, takes care of most of the menial stuff in the hotel. So the episode starts out. We have starting out with the relationship between Basil and Manuel, and you can tell that he's trying to talk to him. They're talking about in this particular scene that he's telling him about the only about how much butter to put on each plate, and Manuel doesn't understand, and they go back and forth between the two, and and then Basil kind of moves on. He's trying to get his tasks done. He's trying to type the menu for the day for the restaurant part of the hotel. And as usual, Sybil's giving him a hard time about everything. And at the same time, he's trying to do the menu. She wants him to also hang up a picture that's been on the wall, and it's typical of the two, and how she's always like nagging him and stuff. So it's funny how the relationship is between the two. So he goes to hang the picture, and while he's trying to hang the picture, a couple of customers come down, and they want to get checked out immediately while he's trying to hang the picture. And it turns out that the reason that they need to get out of there so fast is they didn't get their wake up call. And again, you see how Basil deals with the customers. They're more of an inconvenience to him. It's like it's actually his fault that they didn't get their wake up call. And it's funny how he has kind of like is curt, or gives them a hard time about wanting to check out so soon. But and next he moves on to into the dining room area, where this is the first time that we see the major, who is a regular resident of the hotel, and he's actually one of the few characters that Basil seems to get along with, and they talk about like sports stuff and stuff like that. He, like I said, he gets along with Major. Uh, Most of the time, he doesn't get along with anybody, but he does get along with Major, it seems like. So while he's in the dining room, he grabs himself a plate just with some basic stuff so he can get a little bit of breakfast, some toast. And he moves to the office, and he's not there very long until Sybil confronts him about putting a ad in the paper and how much it would cost. And he explains about how he wants to get a higher class of clientele into the hotel, and that's why he put the ad in the paper in the first place. But she's not very happy about that. So next is breakfast is interrupted by somebody who shows up at the desk, and it's somebody who seems to be a lower class type of guy. But what he doesn't know is this is actually a undercover policeman who's staking out the place for somebody who's a bit nefarious. But there's some funny stuff that goes on between Basil and him about again like a class type thing where Basil thinks he's really uh, not he's a lower class type of person. Please bear with me while I try to get all these screen captures up. So next, again, another thing with the Basil's trying to talk to Manuel in Spanish and telling him about to get the guy's stuff and take it up to a particular room. And Manuel doesn't understand Basil, but then the gentleman here, who Basil thinks is a lower class guy, speaks in fluent Spanish to Manuel and tells him about what his car is and where to get it and what room to take it to. And Manuel understands him perfectly, so it's funny that Basil ends up not looking like a fool again. So then once again they move to the dining room area where Basil and Manuel were having some communication problems, and Manuel ends up messing up stuff, and Basil ends up chastising him and actually falling into the kitchen area, and you can't see it, but you can hear him like slapping him or something. And Manuel's like, "Oh, yes," funny stuff. Okay, and next the main plot of the story starts kicking in, where a guy checks in claiming to be a Lord Melbury, and this goes to like Basil's character. You can see how he immediately from the previous guest, who was actually a cop and he thought was a lower class guy, like treated him like crap. Now this guy comes in claiming to be a Lord Melbury, and then all of a sudden Basil is like fawning all over him just because he thinks that he's a lord, a higher class um, guy. It's really funny to see. And of course, this Lord Melbury is not actually a lord, but he's a confidence trickster, and he's given. He wants to gives ask if Basil can go cash like £100 note for him in town or whatever. And this is what Basil's doing: is he's sending Polly into town to go cash this check for the Lord Milbury. And while Polly's in town, she on the way there, she sees the guy that checked in earlier, and they're sitting outside in the street, kind of scoping out, keeping an eye on Lord Milbury, and he calls her into the car there to explain and tell her what's actually going on with the so-called Lord. And so Paulie comes back and tries to talk to Basil, and he at first he doesn't want to talk to her and stuff, but then Sybil calls him into the office, and they actually take a look at what earlier the Lord Milbury had left a case in there, supposedly with a bunch of valuables, and that had and said, "Can you keep this in your safe for me?" And Sybil decides that she's good, based on the information that Polly's given them. They're going to open up a case, and Basil's protesting, fighting it every step of the way. They finally open it up, and all that's inside is a bunch of bricks. And he he kind of looks at the bricks, taps them together, and it's like he just can't believe it. It's just it finally dawns on him that the guy's not who he says that he was. So shortly after that, the Lord shows back up at the main desk, and now Basil, having this new information, he knows that he's not Lord Belver. He's just a thief. He starts treating him like crap again. It's like slapping his face, and the gig's up. He kind of gives it away that he knows. He knows who he is. He's not Lord Maryleborough. He's actually a confidence trickster. So in the meantime, while Basil's actually he has some actual upper class people check in. Don't see that. And while he's slopping Lord Melbury around, they see what's going on, and they decide, well, then this isn't the place they want to be with the way he's treating the customers. So they decide to leave, and he follows them outside and tells them that come back. It's not, it's not as bad as you think. And then after they leave, he's sort of like throws a little tantrum there. Oh, and the whole like second half of this, I forgot to mention. Like, there's a group of people who are just like regular hotel guests, and they've been wanting to get a round of drinks, which he's been doing other stuff in the meantime, kind of ignoring them, and he keeps repeating his drink request to Basil the whole time, and Basil just is always doing something, you know. He's always busy. He can't seem to take care of them. And finally, at the very end of the episode, after all this stuff has happened, the guy comes out and basically screams his drink order again. Basil's like, right. And he grabs him and drags him back into the drink area, the bar area of the hotel, and starts getting their drinks ready. It's for them. So it's like they're an inconvenience or something to him. So that's basically the episode. I missed some stuff to it, but that's some of the main points. That's the highlights. Anyhow, let me know if you. I'd rather do like a watch along for this than just put up screenshots and talk about it or whatever. But I don't know if I get enough interest for a watch along. But if you have the episodes and have any interest at all in doing a watch along, let me know in the comments, because I'd be glad to do that. Like I said, this is I really love this series. It's a lot of fun. So if you've followed me along this far, thanks a lot for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next thing that I put up. Take care, everybody.